All right, gentlemen, the red carpet premiere of Spider-Man No Way Home was last night.
Well, technically, it's not for another 5 days.
Right, but this episode isn't coming out until the 14th, so the premiere's already happened.
Wait, is this some sort of time loop?
I don't know. Maybe it's the multiverse breaking apart or right before our eyes or something like that.
Could be.
I'm just waiting for Andrew Garfield to show up.
Yeah, he's still saying he's not in No Way Home.
Of course he is.
Yeah, we'll get ready. Get you ready for the latest Spider-Man and more coming up next. This is Tatooine Sons.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody was amazing.
Yeah, so we should probably kind of let everybody know why we recorded this 5 days earlier.
Yeah.
than it's
Because we were invited to the said red carpet premiere.
Oh, yeah.
No, we were not invited to the red carpet premiere, but we are going to California.
Yes.
I've got a meeting out there. We've got some podcast meetings out there as well, and you guys are coming with me. We're going to make it a guys' weekend, and we're going to probably try to like crash the outside of the red carpet premiere because you're in California during the biggest moment in movie history this year.
Pretty much,
so
yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll do some other stuff that I've got planned that you guys don't even know about. But anyway, all right, thank you. Welcome to Tatooine Sons. It's a pop culture podcast. That's what
It
this is, right?
Oh, is that what it is?
It is.
I thought it was a cooking podcast.
It's not.
that a thing?
But it is the only fan podcast to name a canon Star Wars creature and be endorsed by Ryan Johnson. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of our generation, that there is a story. It is written on our souls, and that these myths speak to that story. And that is why we're talking about that big reveal from the 4th episode of Hawkeye. We're giving our biggest predictions, sure to go wrong, for Spider-Man No Way Home. And we're going to also be looking at a Legends character that's made a surprise appearance in Star Wars canon. I'm David. I'm the dad.
Hi, Dad.
Hello, gentlemen. I am honored to be joined every week by my two spectacular sons. Sam. Yeah, that's good. Spectacular Spider-Man.
Yeah, it was good.
It's good. Sam, what do you got talking about?
Yeah, you need to watch Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 1 and 2 to understand Spider-Man 3.
Yes. This is more confusing than any of the Batman movies.
All right. BB Nate, what about you? What are you talking about?
We'll be talking about how this episode of Hawkeye convinced me that this show is the most connected to the rest of the MCU, other than the other shows of the MCU.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah. You, Dad?
Awesome. Yeah, there's a Legends character being reintroduced in canon. I mentioned it at the top of the show. I think its impact on future stories could be as significant as the reintroduction of Thrawn.
Whoa.
Before we get into the show, this episode is sponsored by Cufflinks.com. They have over 3,000 items on their website from Star Wars, Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, if you like that kind of thing, NFL, NCAA, Major League Baseball, NBA, and everything else that you can think of. And we are so honored to be sponsored by this amazing company. And if this is your first time listening to the show, thank you so much for listening. We would encourage you to press down that subscribe or follow button on the app that you're listening to us on. If you're a return listener and you still haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It'll just make it a lot easier. You're coming back, so subscribing to make it easier for you. This Friday, we have a really cool interview with Dion Wilson. Dion is the creator of Titanium Comics and Rastar Technologies and Multiverse. So it's appropriate that this week we're talking about him. Everyone's going to be talking about the multiverse. That's good branding for him. Dion and I are going to be talking about independent comic book publishing publishing, and how Web 3.0 is leveling the playing field. That sounded complicated, didn't it? But enough about what we're talking about Friday. What are we talking about today, BB Nate?
Yes, it seems like every episode of Hawkeye keeps getting better and better. This week we had a holiday party, more LARPers, and a surprise guest appearance. So let's get to it.
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yeah, I can fly.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
The people in this room, which one is A, wearing a spangly outfit, and B, not of use?
There's only one God, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
That man has no limits.
I feel like this show feels the most connected to the rest of the MCU.
Explain what you mean.
It mentions a lot of the MCU stuff, of course. You know, you're already getting to spoilers. We have Yelena in this, which is from Black Widow a few months ago. With the rest of the shows, it kind of just felt like their own little story. I mean, even Falcon and Winter Soldier didn't mention much of the rest of the MCU except for Don Cheadle's
I don't know
character.
if I necessarily agree with you.
Well,
on that.
you can.
There
be
were
wrong,
some
but it's okay.
tie-ins. There's some tie-ins on it, but anyway, okay, that's cool. You're not the only person. Pete Fletcher from Around the Galaxy tweeted basically the same thing today.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Alrighty. So the rating of this episode, partners, am I right? On 1 to 10 strange Rolexes.
I'd give it
is this strange as in Doctor Strange Rolex, or is just strange as in like weird or unusual?
Like,
unusual. I'd give it 8.
Okay.
It was fun. It had a lot of good elements to it. Obviously, Yelena was a lot of fun, but otherwise, not too much happened other than like Yelena showing up. So, but it was good.
It was about. I'll give it an 8, but I'll give it an 8 because I like character development, and there was about 90% of this episode was just character development for the relationship between Clint and Kate, and sort of laying down that story a little bit more. And then all of a sudden in the end, it just turned into this crazy cameo that we kind of knew was coming, but I don't know if we were really prepared for
the
it.
YouTube of Marvel has already thrown her on a thumbnail on today, and I'm like, okay.
Did you hear that she tweeted or she Instagrammed about it yesterday about how excited she was, and Instagram has shut her account down because she spoiled it?
Oh,
that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. So.
All right, so let's get into it with Clint and his relationship with Kate. Now, Clint in this episode has a big choice to make: to work with Kate or to not work with Kate. He obviously works well with her, but he needs to keep her safe. Then Kate, has a whole holiday party with him to make up for the movie marathon he was missing with his kids and everything. Sweet. It was really sweet. It was a great character development moment. And when they go to break and enter into an apartment for the watch, she goes rogue and enters, we find out, Maya's apartment, and a fight breaks out and Kate almost dies. Do y'all think that Clint should abandon Kate after the events of this episode? If so, do y'all think that Clint can solve this case without her?
I think he can solve this case without her, but I don't think he should abandon her. Just like his whole mindset up until this point has been, he's still with this because he wants her to be safe. If he leaves, she's in danger. And so he can't abandon her yet, because then it would put her in danger, especially now that there's a Black Widow in on this and all of that. So I don't think he should abandon Kate, though. I can understand why he would. It's still for her protection now that there's a Black Widow on their tail, but I think doing that only makes things worse in the end. So no, I don't think he should abandon her.
I don't think he should abandon her, and I don't think he can solve the case without her. And there's like sort of an in-universe reason behind it, and then an out-of-universe reason behind it. The in-universe reason is because he needs to... The relationship between Clint and Kate is designed in the story to help him heal from the death of Natasha. And that was what this whole episode was about. You start to really feel the weight of Natasha's death and him feeling like it's his responsibility. There's all this talk about the shot he didn't take. And then, what's the mom's name? I can't even remember her name.
Oh, I don't remember her name either.
Anyway, Kate's mom, is asking questions at this weird meeting at their house and basically says, stay away from my daughter. I don't want the same thing to happen to her that happened to Natasha. And he's feeling the weight of this throughout the entire episode. And so that's why he wants to get rid of Kate. He wants to protect Kate. He doesn't want to feel that pain again. This relationship is going to help, in the end, it's going to help him process the death of Natasha. That's the in-universe explanation. The out-of-universe explanation is you got to set up the story so that Kate can become Hawkeye going forward.
Right.
Because Kate's going to become Hawkeye and Yelena's going to become the new Black Widow. They're going to become close, very tight friends by the end of the series. And that's the way the story is going to move forward.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah. And let's move on now. What are we watching now? We learn a little bit more about this mysterious watch in this episode. We learned that it has data on it that could link to someone in Clint's past that's been out of the game for a long time, but we aren't sure who that is. Do y'all have any theories on who that might be?
I got no clue.
There was that 10 years ago type thing. So that gets me nowhere. The only person that we know, there's only two people we know he has a relationship with 10 years ago, because that's pre-Avengers.
Yeah.
The movie. The attack on New York was 2012.
Right.
Oh no, this is after that.
After.
It is after.
So it could be
there's a lot of theories that it's Laura. It's his wife, that she was a spy.
What?
Because she does know Russian and she knows a lot of things.
That's true. And she has been doing a lot of that stuff.
And so we're wondering if she decided to abandon that career and if there's stuff on that watch, and that's why she is so concerned about it too.
And why she's so understanding of Clint having to constantly put the family in second place.
That's got my vote.
Wow.
That makes sense. I really think that would be...
No wonder he's so desperate to get this watch back. Now the stakes are like...
I know. He's very calm about it, though.
It makes perfect sense when it fits Clint's character, though, because Clint will do anything for his family. That's why Ronan came from.
Right.
Because he was so angry about the death of the disappearance of his family.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Now, let's, of course, talk about Yelena and her return. Now, we see someone in a really cool costume. Clint should probably take some notes. Fighting Clint and Kate on a rooftop. We later find out it's Yelena on her mission to kill Hawkeye for revenge of her sister's death. Now, we are 4 episodes in already, and they just introduced Yelena. How do y'all think they're going to wrap up her story, or at least enough for this show, in 2 episodes?
I have no idea. They got to sit down and have some sort of conversation, because this is just one big misunderstanding.
It is.
And so they just need to sit down and have a chat. But as for how they're going to wrap it up, I don't know. Because she left in a weird way. Like, she didn't really have to leave them.
No.
Like, she could have kept fighting, but she decided to leave. She's definitely coming back, though. But I don't know how they're going to handle this. I guess maybe Clint goes after her or something, because he's got to get on the offensive to get things rolling. I don't know. It is a little weird the way they introduced her and then have her just leave. So I'm not sure how they're going to handle
I
that.
don't know, yeah. But, I mean, she's obviously not a bad guy, because she... attached a grappling hook to Kate when she threw Kate off of the roof. So she doesn't want to kill unless it's Hawkeye. So
I think she sees Kate as a secondary, situation in this. She's after Clint, but she doesn't want Kate to get caught up in it, because she sees Kate as her sister in this story. And so she doesn't want to sacrifice Kate. She just wants a Clint. We still don't understand what is it, the Contessa Baroness?
It's Valentina de la
Just do Valentina.
Val.
The Contessa. Yeah, whatever.
Val. Isn't that what they call her?
Yeah. Yes.
Val. Okay. Val, right? We don't know what Val has told Yelena after that, in the post-credit scene of Black Widow. After that moment, that is why Yelena is hunting Clint at this point. So I'm curious to see how they're going to have to resolve that in this series.
They are.
you've got 2 more episodes. A lot can happen in 2
lot
episodes.
can happen.
Yeah.
But
that's
there's
an
a lot
hour.
they still have to wrap up.
And these shows have been between 40 and 45 minutes each.
52 was, I think, the first one. So.
Yeah, so they're longer than some of the other episodes of some of the other shows. So you've basically got a feter film left in time going forward. A lot can happen.
That's
a lot
true.
could happen.
That,
yeah,
so.
of course.
But yeah, let's while we're talking about Yelena and everything else, let's have a dad moment here.
I am your father.
A controversy from Avengers Endgame was that they had a major sequence mourning the loss of Tony Stark, but hardly even dealt with the sacrifice of Natasha Romanoff. But in Hawkeye, we're seeing this cloud, like I mentioned earlier, that hangs over Clint as he tries to move on with his life. So much reminds him of Natasha, and he's really struggling with this. Grief isn't something that ends when the body is laid in the grave and people go home from the funeral. For those that are the closest, it continues to be a part of their everyday existence. It can sneak up on you at any moment. I remember this happening to me just a few months after my own father died in 2005. He was a huge Kansas Jayhawks basketball fan, and I was listening to sports radio discussing, they were discussing an important game that the Jayhawks were having that evening, and I literally, just as a reflex, dialed my dad's cell phone without even thinking of it. And when he didn't pick up, this realization flooded over me, and I had to pull the car over because I really couldn't even think straight. Grief takes time, and I love that Hawkeye is helping us experience that in this story.
Yeah, it's definitely the most human of the MCU stuff we've seen so far. I think it's safe to say that this show is becoming my favorite of the MCU shows. I don't know about y'all, but the next episode comes out tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. And as always, look out for a post-credit scene.
Maybe. All right, it's time for some bad news. We've got Taika Waititi might not be making a Star Wars.
What?
Ned might be more than just the guy in the chair. And Patty Jenkins isn't making her movie with Gal Gadot. It's time to look at the latest clickbait headlines. Again, that's next on Bad News.
This is not going to go the way you think.
All right, can you, so we got our cufflink stuff in.
We did.
Yeah.
Because, we crashed the party last night. We didn't actually get in, probably.
We're not quite sure.
But we're not getting in. But anyway, we're going to go crash the party, and we're going to go do it dressed in style, because why not?
Right?
So what did you guys think of the Spider-Man stuff that they sent us from cufflinks.com?
There's some really, really cool stuff. We got 3 sets of cufflinks, and I think one's definitely my standout favorite. It's like these gold Spider-Man mask cufflinks that look really cool. Nate, what was your favorite piece? I think we all know.
It's the Amazing Spider-Man logo tie. Yeah. Always. I'm going to be wearing that so much, and I love that.
Were you pretty pumped about that?
I was, yeah.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that tie, you pulled it out of the box. I'm like, yeah, that's Nate's.
Yep.
Yeah, and so then we got like the spider symbol cufflinks, and we got that you mentioned the gold cufflinks, which are fantastic, and another
colored ones,
the colored version of that as well,
socks as well
and stuff. So yeah, it's so cool. Obviously, they have so much more than just Spider-Man No Way Home. Stuff
they
like
have
that.
Over 3,000 items on the website, like we mentioned. Not just cufflinks, but ties and tie bars and socks and money clips. I don't know who uses money clips anymore, and other fantastic gifts.
Yeah, from all kinds of different brands and properties, and
not just Spider-Man,
DC, and like I even said earlier, Star Trek.
If you really want
Star Trek, even though Star Wars is much
obviously
better. Like they say on a musical about Star Wars.
But it's time to start that Christmas shopping. So if you got a Spidey fan,
it's not time to start. It's time to finish. Your Christmas shopping started.
That's a good point. So if you got a Spidey fan, go look on their website and use the code Tatooine15 at the checkout to receive 15% off everything on the site with no minimum order required.
Yeah, head on over to cufflinks.com today, and remember, use that code Tatooine15 at checkout.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
All right, headline 1, Taika Waititi's Star Wars project reportedly in danger.
Just like Rian Johnson's.
He said he was going to, screw up Star Wars.
Well, here's what it is. This is a classic clickbait technique that these websites use. They source each other for their crazy articles. This is what is happening with this headline from Epic Stream. They're sourcing a highly speculative article from Giant Freaking Robot claiming that Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie has been shelved in the same way that rumors have reportedly said that Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron has been indefinitely, more on this in a moment, been shelved. As we'll see, the rumors about Rogue Squadron, they've been proven false. It's almost certain that these rumors will be about Taika Waititi's film. They'll be proven wrong as well. Yeah. So clickbait level 8.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this next one, Jacob Batalon has a huge reveal in Spider-Man No Way Home. This one is from Giant Freaking Robot.
They're all over this episode.
They're tapping into Spider-Man No Way Home hysteria with an article pulling from their trusted and proven sources that says that the guy in the chair has a family history of magical powers that will come to light in the epic film releasing later this month. Since few have seen this film, and most who have seen anything from it have seen about 40 minutes in total, it's hard to believe that detailed backstory points would be available for their trusted sources at this point. So that's getting to clickbait level 7.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Patty Jenkins is being replaced as director for Gal Gadot's upcoming movie.
What?
I know. It's crazy. DC fans scrolling through social media this week were treated to this crazy headline, also from Giant Freaking
basically
Robot.
a triple crown.
I know, right. It's close, but this one doesn't need any trusted and proven sources. It's technically true, but it has nothing to do with what most readers would assume. Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot are still working together on Wonder Woman 3, but Patty has relinquished her directorial duties on a Cleopatra biopic, which that sounds interesting, also starring Gal Gadot, in order to refocus her time on a Star Wars film, Rogue Squadron. Of course, there isn't any mention of the articles the site released stating that Rogue Squadron has been shelved because of creative differences between the director and Lucasfilm. This is a clickbait level of 10.
That a big clickbait level 10. All right.
Did it get you to click, Dad?
No, yeah. Well, it got me. I was like, oh, I saw that headline.
And you were like, oh, there it is. Yeah.
I found a headline for clickbait for our bad news segment. There we go. All right. Sam, what's up?
Yeah. With No Way Home's release just around the corner, we're going to discuss everything you need to know from the previous films to be all caught up. And in good faith, we're going to include the Spider-Man films outside the MCU. Fingers crossed.
Be on your guard. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world.
All right, then, keep your secrets. You're coming to us. Is as the footsteps of do's.
There are many magic rings in this world, Bilbo Baggins, and none of them should be used lightly.
You know, the Tobey Maguire's version of J. Jonah Jameson is aware of Doctor Strange, right?
He is, yeah.
Remember when they're trying to figure out names for Doc Ock, and whoever the other employee is like Doctor Strange, and J. Jonah Jameson was like, no, that one's already taken.
Oh, wow. I forgot about that.
It's already kind of like, it's already all connected.
All right.
It's
already happening.
Yeah, so we're going to go through.
It's been the Grand Master Plan since 2003 or whatever.
Sam Raimi was like, put it in there. I know it's happening. All right, so we're going to go through it, and we're going to discuss kind of little aspects about each of the specific characters that could be showing up. One that we know is definitely in there because it's his movie. We're going to talk about all the little important
Spider-Man's
points.
in this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Believe it or not. So, as you know, at the end of Far From Home, Peter's identity was revealed by Mysterio, and everybody thinks that he killed Mysterio at this point, which is the big, catalyst for this new movie showing up. So we know that Peter is going to court for the murder of Mysterio at this point, and now his identity is all shot. Someone put up an interesting point, though. If you remember from Homecoming, his suit has the baby monitor protocol that records everything he's seeing. Do you think that could come to play in this next film to help him in court?
Definitely. I feel like that there was a reason that, I'm sure in many cases Tony could have been framed, but he has, contingencies. Yes.
Yeah, because he put stuff in Peter's suit because of things Tony had been through.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
so
true.
I really think that it's a good cop out.
Because him going to trial is not the purpose of this movie in
Not
any way,
at all.
shape, or form. That has to get dealt with pretty quick. It's about him being exposed and then what he'll do, what lengths he'll go to in order to regain his anonymity with that. And then realizing that be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. That's what ends up breaking the multiverse. At least that's what it looks like from the trailer. So I think that's a fine resolution.
I have one thing to poke a hole into that, though. That was with his old suit. He created this new suit on the way to London, so it may not have that functionality actually at this point. He may not have implemented it.
We'll see.
Yeah. And then it seems like Tom Spider-Man needs some sort of father figure. First, it was Tony in Homecoming and Endgame and all of that. And now he's gone. And then it looked like for a minute there in Far From Home that it could be Mysterio. Obviously, that did not work out. So if you guys had to take a guess, who would you predict to be that sort of father figure going forward in this character's
either
story?
Happy or Doctor Strange? I feel like Doctor Strange it would be a little bit more of the superhero side, but with Happy potentially dating May, I feel like that might become more of the father figure part of it.
I think that they may both be, kind of going down that path with him. He's trying to choose between which one. And, there's been a lot of speculation that Strange may be a little bit strange in this. There may be some off stuff with him.
Yeah.
He could be dark side a little bit in this storyline. And so if that's the case, then he's being pulled between Steven and Happy and maybe doesn't know where he wants to go with it. I just am worried based on a couple of clips from some of the spots that something very bad could happen to Happy in this, and that makes me very worried.
They better. They can't do that. They cannot.
They can't do that to us.
I mean, we didn't see it, but obviously Peter or his parents died. Ben died. Now Tony Beckett not only died, or is it Beckett? No, not Beckett. Whoever. Quentin Beck. Okay. Beck not only died, but actually just turned out to be a totally bad guy in the first place. They can't kill Happy, too. Also, for Iron Man fans, they can't kill Happy. That's just wrong.
Except they kill Iron Man every time they bring him out now. So.
That's true. Yeah.
One time.
What if?
One time.
Yeah, and at that point, they just humiliate him. Now, we can't forget that Vulture is still out there somewhere. You see at the end of Homecoming, he's in prison. So he's not gone, but he already knew Spidey's identity before everything was revealed. Do you think that could come back to bite him later on? Because there's that Scorpion guy or whatever who seemed a little bit suspicious of him at the end of Homecoming.
No, I don't think it'll come into play later. I mean, it might come into play with Liz. My theory since Homecoming is that Liz becomes Black Cat, and so this might be a way to, push that along.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever heard this.
Really?
theory.
I told Sammy about it the other night.
I think it's got merit.
It has great merit. I mean, it completely makes sense. Black Cat was in a romantic relationship with Peter before MJ and is always trying to get at him and is kind of like the Catwoman of Marvel. It would make sense. They introduced it would work. And now that she knows his identity, that would play into it a little bit more. And she has, her dad was put in jail by Spider-Man. So she has a vendetta against Peter as well. So
it's true. Yeah. Dad's a little shocked by that. And we know that Donald Glover's character, Aaron Davis, is in the MCU at this point, which if you've seen Into the Spider-Verse or are familiar with the characters, you know that he plays Prowler and is also the uncle to Miles Morales.
And he even mentioned his nephew in this.
So that could definitely be
I don't think he's going to be in this at all.
I don't think Miles is going to be in this yet. I mean, it might. Yeah, I don't think that's quite yet.
Now, I doubt we'll see something like this in this movie, but there was an interesting theory put out there about Flash. He's been, if you watch Far From Home,
blonde hair.
No. If you watch Far From Home, you notice that Flash is having family troubles. He can't get in touch with either of his parents, and when he gets back from the airport, neither one of his parents pick him up. It's some servant or whatever. So there's people think that this could somehow cause him to become Venom, right? He's a little bit upset. We know he becomes Venom in the comics and stuff as well. But there's also
Flash does?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
There's also, it's a bit out there, and I don't know how they pull it off, but some people think that Flash's mom could have been working for Carlton Drake, which is Riot in Venom. Do you remember that character? So they could be thinking that somehow that's how he gets exposed to the symbiote and could become the MCU version of Venom later on.
Yeah, I don't really think that he has any vendettas against Peter, though, because in the trailers we keep seeing him walking next to him when the mob is, all freaking out against Peter.
That's true.
I think that he would probably...
Because he is a Spider-Man super fan.
He is.
Yeah.
And so I think he'd appreciate Peter a lot more at that point. So
fair enough.
I think that there's no problem.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to see any Venom stuff with Flash. There's another Venom that's coming in this one. So
yeah, and we know from I think it's Hawkeye that it was revealed in that someone has bought Avengers Tower at this point.
And Tom Holland says he knows who it is.
Yeah.
Yes, but he's actually being
good enough to not spoil it.
Right.
Just surprising.
So some names that have been thrown out there as to who it could be. Some people think it could be Norman Osborn in this universe,
which wouldn't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, because we haven't seen that character yet. Reed Richards, because we know that they have that character now. MCU can use that, or Kingpin. If you guys had to take a guess, which one do you think is the most likely?
Probably Norman. I feel like that would be the best explanation right now, but it also has a very warranted chance of being Reed Richards with the Fantastic Four movie coming up soon, and with the ties of Spider-Man to the Fantastic Four being very close throughout the comics.
That's true.
That is very. I don't think it's Kingpin though. I don't see why.
I think it is Kingpin. I think that's why they're mentioning it in the Hawkeye series. And
why would Kingpin need a giant skyscraper?
Because why not?
Fair enough.
He's Kingpin. He takes up 4 floors anyway. So.
He had a giant skyscraper in the Spider-Man game.
Yeah.
So.
And as you mentioned a second ago, Dad, Venom could be in the MCU now. Something was interesting, though. He couldn't be brought in through the botched spell that we see in the trailers, as when he's brought in, he's watching the news broadcast that we see at the end of Far From Home, meaning the timing is off. Is the botched spell a red herring that they've been throwing in this trailer? And is it really due to Loki or something?
I am still for Madam Web being introduced in this movie. And I feel like she threw Venom in there to help out Peter because that was a good Venom from the universe. Mm-hmm. I'm saying I just want to see Madam Web in a Spider-Man movie.
We're making the assumption that the broadcast that Venom sees at the end credit scene of that film, Venom 2 is the first time that's being announced.
You think it's a rerun?
It could be weeks later, and a news
due to like the trial,
and that kind of thing.
Okay,
so,
that's fair.
But still, I want
it is kind of ambiguous though. And then we'll quickly let's run through the other 2 Spider-Man that we're hoping show up in this
one a little
movie.
bit more than the other.
Oh, you hope. There's the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. Now, we know he failed to save Gwen at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, I think we've discussed this a few times, but fans are suggesting that when we see MJ falling in the trailer, that he's actually the one who comes to save her, to A, redeem himself, and B, save Tom's Spider-Man the pain of having to go through something like that. Are y'all fans of that theory?
I like the idea. I don't think it's going to
it's going to happen, sadly, but I do like that idea a lot.
But I do know he's in this movie. He's in this movie. I don't care what he says. He's in this movie.
He's the invisible guy who punches.
If the soundtrack that I've been listening to says anything, it's a possibility.
It's a strong possibility. All right.
Yeah. Now, Kirk Connors isn't dead, but he's also not a reptile at the end of Amazing Spider-Man.
Exactly.
So that's it's kind of confusing. This has been a thing that's, if you notice the characters, they don't make a whole lot of sense as to why they're in here. They're either dead or different than how we see them in this. Now, interestingly, there was actually Kirk Connors in the Raimiverse, who was friends with Doc Ock, missing an arm and everything too.
But he was going to be introduced in Spider-Man 4 as a villain, so
right. But they never actually got to that point. I don't think anything will happen with that, but it is a little bit interesting, a bit of trivia. And then we've got Electro again, but he's dead. and also looks very different than how we see him in Amazing Spider-Man 2. I think we've debunked this a few times, but do you guys think he's a variant, or do you think this is the same Electro, just looks different for some reason?
You want to answer it first, Dad?
Yeah, I am of the opinion that these are variants. I think that the timeline has been fractured. I think that the moment that, I think the spell messes things up, but there's the moment at the Statue of Liberty with they're like making it Captain America or something.
They're giving it a shield for Captain America.
Which is weird. I want an explanation for that. But anyway,
Rogers the music.
When all that happened, yeah.
It's a big ad campaign.
Right. It got Disney-fied. All right. I think that moment is actually the moment at the end of Loki when everything is going crazy, and it's just paralleling at this.
Okay.
And so I think that we're going to get a lot of variants as a result of it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't think so, because of a TV spot we got. Actually, it wasn't a TV spot. It was a little villains featurette that they released a little bit ago. We see a line from Doc Ock against Peter, and he said, "What did you do with my machine?" So that's already going back to Spider-Man 2.
The like sun thing.
Mm-hmm. And then we see Electro, and he says, "How do you like the new me?" So
new me.
So that is already a confirmation that it's different from what he was before.
That's a fair point.
It is seeming like these people have been brought back to the point where it's just a different version. Maybe some complications through pulling through universes or something. I don't know.
The being transported through universes cured his blues.
Yeah, cured his blues.
Oh, that's so bad. All right.
And then we saw Rhino briefly at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2, but nothing was really done with his character. But we've only got 5 villains in the trailers and stuff
that we know of.
Could he be rounding off the Sinister Six? And if not him, then who? Or do we even get a Sinister Six in this movie?
I don't think we get a Sinister Six in this movie. And if so, I don't think it would be him rounding it off.
Who would you?
I don't know. I'm not sure quite yet. I don't know who would be a good choice. Maybe somebody new from Holland's universe.
Okay.
The MCU. Maybe a new villain from
like there. Scorpion or somebody
like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it makes sense that they would add a 6th character and make the Sinister Six in this one, but maybe they're setting that up for something with Garfield later. I don't know. Come back.
That's true.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
With it, I think they've already got, we've already got 5 bad guys, and let's just go ahead and speculate that we have 3 good guys. Plus, you have Benedict, or you have Doctor Strange, you have MJ, you have Ned, you got Happy, you got Jade. I mean, there's a lot of characters in this. Yeah. Adding another one in there would be a big twist, but I don't think that throwing in there Rhino would be anything that would get anybody excited.
That's true.
No, a lot of people really didn't like his character. He was just weird.
Yeah, that's true. And then for Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, which we got to go way back to discuss because he's even older. Last time we saw Green Goblin, he was kind of pinned to the wall with his glider, meaning he's dead. So how is he showing up in this story? Is he a variant? Is it the same one? Some people are suggesting that these characters come back a little bit before they die.
Which would make sense, yeah. Because going to Doc Ock, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah, I mean, Doc Ock was last seen, he was in control of his tentacles, and they were good, I guess, at that point, but he was kind of sinking to the bottom of the river. Now, Molina told Variety that his story picks up from that moment.
Because he just cannot keep from spoiling things.
No. So if he's good at that point...
Could you imagine what a presser would be like if you had Tom Holland and Alfred Molina in the same room with press?
Oh my gosh.
It'd be like the whole movie. It'd be like...
And then just throw Mark Ruffalo in there because, why not?
He can't... But if Doc Ock is good at this point, right? The moment that Molina says he's coming back, why is he fighting Spider-Man?
I feel like it might be from that moment, but it might just be for a couple minutes before that, because I feel like we know he isn't in control of his tentacles in this movie. It is shown with the red lights on the end of his tentacles indicate that the tentacles are in control. That was from the setup in the Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
So we know that. And his fact that he says, "What have you done with my machine?" Well, Doc Ock already knows what happened to his machine. He destroyed it. So
good point.
they have no clue now. So, and that might also be why they can bring in Toby and Andrew. If they pull out these villains right before they're dead in those timelines, then that would kind of mess things up. So they could bring in those Spider-Man for those points.
I just am sitting here thinking about the fact that we've got basically all the villains from the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
Right.
Except for the really bad Green Goblin.
Except for who?
The really bad Green Goblin.
That's true. And we've got basically all the bad guys from the first two of the Raimi Spider-Verse. But we don't have anybody we have
Sandman.
Okay,
Yeah, and
that's where I'm missing.
Another problem with that, though, is at the end, Sandman and Toby Spidey make amends, right? He says, I actually killed your uncle or whatever, and he's forgiven, and then he floats away. But he's good at that point, which also begs the question as to why he's fighting Spider-Man if he's good at this point.
Yeah, I think there's lots of questions that need to be answered.
Yeah. A lot of... They've got a lot of explaining with these villains.
Saying in TV spots and interviews that they'll all be answered, but...
That's a lot of questions.
There's a lot of questions.
Can't wait to see
that Chloe Zhao wasn't put on this movie.
A couple days away, baby. All right.
Yeah, well, Spider-Man No Way Home releases December 17th.
16th for us.
16th, well, the early. It's the 17th is the big release date.
Yeah, it's 16th.
Anyway.
Yeah.
It's shaping up to be one of the biggest films of the year and possibly one of the biggest in the history of the MCU. So, yeah. You're not going to want to miss this, so get your tickets if you can manage to find any.
$25,000 on eBay, baby.
There we go.
Well, it's not easy doing a movie moments 2 days after you did a movie moments.
Right. Good point.
Before, but we've got, I don't know, there's a movie coming out called Spider-Man No Way Home. Maybe, I think there's another one that's coming out, which we'll talk about that. Why would you release it anyway? On the same weekend as that, we don't really have anything trailer related this week. There's nothing. With that, and then instead of box office numbers, we're going to give box office predictions for this weekend. That's all up next on Movie Moments.
At last, we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last, we will have revenge.
So, new releases this week, I guess, is Spider-Man No Way Home.
Wow, we should talk about that.
Yeah, we should. For the first time in the cinematic history of Spider-Man, our friendly neighborhood hero is unmasked and no longer able to separate his normal life from the highest stakes of being a superhero. When he asks for help from Doctor Strange, the stakes become even more dangerous, forcing him to discover what it truly means to be Spider-Man.
It took you 20 minutes to talk about this show. It took him 45 seconds.
Sorry, I can cut down my segment.
The director is John Watts, like the previous two movies. The cast is Tom Holland, Zendaya, and Benedict Cumberbatch.
And a bunch of other people.
And a bunch of other people.
That they aren't going to announce until actually it's out there.
And then they're still going to deny that they're even in the movie. The studio is Sony Pictures and Marvel Studios. I guess, yeah. And it is rated PG-13 for sequences of action, violence, some language, and brief suggestive comments.
So it's December 18th.
Yes.
The movie has been out in theaters for a full 24 hours after the official release date. Is Andrew Garfield still denying he's in this movie?
Yes.
Every interview.
He's going to take it to his grave.
He's going to be on the red carpet Monday night, and he's going to be like,
I don't even know why.
They just invited me. I don't know.
I just saw a red carpet and started walking on it. What are you talking about?
All right.
The next movie is one that I'm not sure why they decided to release it on Spider-Man weekend, but hey.
Bad marketing.
They don't have any faith in this movie. It is Nightmare Alley, when charismatic but down on his luck, Stanton Carlisle.
That's called Carlisle, Nathan.
Carlisle?
That's Carlisle.
All right.
Wait, really?
Endears himself to clairvoyant Xena and her mentalist husband, Pete, at a traveling carnival. He crafts a golden ticket to success using this newly acquired knowledge to grift the wealthy elite of 1940s New York society. With the virtuous Molly loyally by his side, Stanton plots to con a dangerous tycoon with the aid of a mysterious psychiatrist who might be his most formidable opponent yet. What?
Yeah. Honestly, kind of sounds interesting.
Yeah. And the director is Guillermo del Toro. I said that right. Yeah,
you did.
The cast is Bradley Cooper, Kate Blanchett, and Toni Collette. Toni Collette was in Knives Out, right?
Yeah.
It is from Searchlight.
Kate Blanchett is in The Lord of the Rings.
Well, okay.
Galadriel.
It is from Searchlight Pictures.
Bradley Cooper is in Marvel.
Yeah, he is. He's Rocket. Yeah. It is from Searchlight Pictures. It is rated R for strong, bloody violence, some sexual content, nudity, and language.
Well, we're checking that one off the list now. All right. Won't be going to that one.
There were not really any trailers.
Because we haven't had any time for them.
Exactly. So. I mean, there was a bit of a mention of Hotel Transylvania 4 Transformania. It's going straight to Amazon Prime, so they don't have faith in the movie.
That's basically the new equivalent of straight to DVD.
Yeah, they're just like, Adam Sandler's not the title on it anymore. We're just going to go straight to Amazon.
What's going to happen to that $5 bin at Walmart now?
Yeah.
Because they don't even make the DVDs.
It's going to become
anymore.
an antique retro kind of thing. Like, you'll find the retro DVDs
30 years from now, people will be like spending like $900.
American Pickers will find those
DVD players. It'll be like the record players now.
Right. Well, we don't have box office numbers, but we do have some box office predictions. A West Side Story, where I guess we're predicting 14 to 22.
I'm not predicting.
Million.
That's what other people.
Other people are predicting.
That's such a wide range.
Yeah.
And Nightmare Alley is going off with a strong 3 to 7 million.
Ouch. Well, when you're going up against Spider-Man,
which has had the second highest pre-sale of all time behind Endgame. So
really,
yeah,
wow.
You're having a bit of difficulties there.
Anyway, all right, let's talk about Star Wars stuff. Star Wars social media erupted. I have yesterday on here. That wasn't yesterday. This was like a week ago.
Yeah,
for people listening to this show right now. When a panel
yesterday for us currently.
Exactly. When a panel from anyway. It's got to be your bowl. When a panel from the latest comic book reintroduced a classic Legends character into Star Wars canon, Prince Xizor might end up being just a side story in the comics. But then there is a lot going on that suggests he could become actually a major character in live action.
Wokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
If you live long enough, you see the same eyes in different people.
Xizor.
It looks like Xizor
thing. It's Prince Xizor. It's spelt Xizor. Let's give you some context. He's actually from the Legends continuity now. Prince Xizor was a Fallen prince of House Xizor and the legend of the leader of the powerful criminal organization Black Sun during the Galactic Civil War. Xizor was a ruthless competitor and charismatic public figure in high society with his headquarters in the city planet Coruscant. And he was close to the Imperial Palace, but less splendid. And he had his own little palace there, his home outside of Fallen, which is his home planet.
Since he's a Fallen.
Exactly. Following the Battle of Hoth, Xizor was considered one of the most influential beings in the galaxy, on a par with Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader, due to his exceptional wealth and influence through his criminal activities. And thank you, Wikipedia, for that description. I just read it straight from there. So anyway, Sam, for our amazing listeners whose knowledge of the Black Sun might be a little muddled between Legends and canon, help them out and explain why it matters in the era of The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett.
The Black Sun was a criminal syndicate that came into prominence during the Clone Wars, as the Jedi Order focused more on military affairs and less on law enforcement. They weren't being peacekeepers as much of the time. So the Black Sun was allied with the Shadow Collective and its leader, the renegade Sith Lord Maul. The syndicate maintained bases on Mustafar and Ord Mantell and had many of the Fallen species as members.
And so this is the official canon position on Black Sun.
Right. At this point, this is what's in canon.
Okay. So it's important for us to understand that. What do you think about the Black Sun and everything coming into this?
Well, I mean, if the Black Sun does come into all of this, it would make sense because we're getting a little bit more Darth Maul. We're hoping to get some more Darth Maul with the series sometime. But it would be really cool to see this Legends character. I love how they're pulling Legends characters in and not Legends stories, because it allows them to take these characters that are loved. Obviously, a lot of people are excited about this, and make their stories a bit different and fit into the canon of now. So yeah, I'm very excited.
What about the idea of Black Sun? Because Black Sun is a canon organization where we see them in Clone Wars season 7 a lot.
Yep.
With this, we have this Shadow Collective. They're also tied, as part of the Shadow Collective, it seems to be that something happens to the Shadow Collective, and that becomes Crimson Dawn.
Right.
which is led by Maul, but maybe, maybe the Black Sun breaks off at some point on that. What do you think about bringing in some of that stuff from Clone Wars and those crime syndicates and all of that into stuff like the comic books and potentially even Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett?
Well, I think it would work really well in Book of Boba Fett, since we've already predicted that the criminal syndicates are going to be a big part of that. We're hoping to see Maul maybe make an appearance, but I really do think
in a flashback or something like that.
Yeah, flashback or something. The crime syndicates have been a big part of comics, especially the canon Marvel comics, for years, along with a lot of Darth Maul stuff, a lot of the main Star Wars line and everything. So I feel like just bringing in the Black Sun a little bit more is going to help solidify the crime syndicates into this world, this galaxy, since there's been a lot of, Jedis and Sith throughout the whole time of the canon. So,
we know the Black Sun is canon, and up until this point, we haven't had any mention of Prince Xizor in it. But that changed in this comic book that came out just recently in this scenario. It's kind of been building towards it over some of the recent comic book stuff. The War of the Bounty Hunters, which is just completed, is this collection of bounty hunters that are sparring over a bounty like no other. It's the carbonite slab containing Han Solo. They're going after that. So you've got Kira going after it, Crimson Dawn going after it, Boba Fett going after it, which means he lost it, because last time we see it in Empires. So this is actually, honestly, reading this stuff and studying for the segment, planning for the segment, makes me want to go ahead and get the War of the Bounty Hunters stuff. Dr. Aphra is involved. Even Princess Leia herself is involved in clashing over the gunslinger's tomb. It really was a massive moment for Star Wars comics in this series. And one that we never really expected to impact live action. But then this panel of a comic showed an unusually familiar falling type creature in it. And then when this panel was first seen in the War of the Bounty Hunters, a lot of fans speculated that it could actually be Prince Xizor. But no one was confirmed on that. And then this issue of Star Wars Crimson Reign #1 came out, and it actually reintroduces Prince Xizor into Star Wars canon when Kira, at this point the head of Crimson Dawn, suggests to a falling underling in this that Prince Xizor could take advantage of the galactic chaos to grow the Black Sun. All right, so let's BB Nate, stop and think about what I just read here. All right.
Okay.
So you have Kira.
Yes.
You have Boba Fett. You have Dr. Aphra. You have Leia, and they all have a history with each other. And we've already suggested, like you mentioned earlier, a theory that Kira and Crimson Dawn could actually be heavily involved in Book of Boba Fett. Maybe even I think that they're going to be the villains of the Book of Boba Fett. So all that previous history that we're seeing in the comics and stuff might come into play here. And then now we've got Prince Xizor, who is the leader of Black Sun, reemerging into canon. Does this feel like they're setting up something really big for Mando and Boba Fett?
I feel like they are setting up a lot of big things, but I don't know if they're setting it up in the way that we're thinking from the comics, because a lot of people don't have the time, the outlet, or just the will or wanting to read the comics. So introducing these big characters into that might be a risk of that. But I also feel like it would work because, we've already seen Kira in Solo. We've already seen Boba Fett. We've already seen all of these characters. So bringing them back in and then having these stories be just backstory of that without having to tie heavily into the Book of Boba Fett and everything, I feel like it would work very well. So
yeah, it's always difficult when you introduce something into a comic or a book first and then try and bring it into the main story, in that people don't always read the comics or the books. So unless they do a good bit of exposition to explain who this character is and why they're important, people are going to be kind of lost. Now, would I like to see this character brought in and, with the implications that brings with it, with all the other connections with main characters? Absolutely. I think that would be great. But I'm curious to see how they're going to play that. I don't think they put this character into the comics to bring it into the live action necessarily. They may play off of that later on, but I don't think that was the initial goal.
So you don't think bringing him into the comics was in order to bring him into live action?
I think maybe eventually down the line they might use that as like he's already established in canon at this point, so now we can bring him in. But I don't think it was specifically so they could bring him in.
Okay, I will agree with you that I don't think they brought him into this comic. They bring this mention in order and then set him up for live action. I think that they already knew they were going to be bringing him into live action, so they're retroactively putting him into comics. Those are getting ready to come out. And your argument is an argument that lots of people have made about a lot of these characters. They've made the same argument about how do you take Ahsoka from animation and put her into live action, because a lot of people don't watch the animated stuff. Mm-hmm. But all of that falls apart with Thrawn, because Thrawn was a Legends character that was well established, had a huge backstory and a big following that all of a sudden they just threw into the animated series and made that character. And then they threw in books and things like that. So they're doing the same. I think they're doing the same thing with Prince Xizor in this, and they're trying to tie it all together. He could be a big bad guy. I still think that Kira and Crimson Dawn are the villains of the book of Boba Fett, but I think that they're setting up something much bigger that involves characters like Prince Xizor, Black Sun, and all of this for the Mandalorian. And so they can introduce some of that into this. So let's talk a little bit. We've talked a little bit about Book of Boba Fett already, but let's bridge into this and talk about how this could kind of impact the future on this, because you didn't see it yet, Sam, and it wouldn't have meant anything to you had you seen it, because you aren't a Legends guy.
Right.
And you guys have never played Shadows of the Empire, the video game. Okay. Which is where a lot of this character story stuff in there. Is it was a comic series, and it was the game and all of this kind of stuff. That's a big part of it. In the Book of Boba Fett trailer, there is a ship that's coming that enters into the screen, and most people that are Legends fans are all pretty much jumping into this agreement that it is the Outrider, which if that is what is seen in this 60-second spot for the Book of Boba Fett, then this ties into Prince Xizor and the Black Sun. So Sam, explain the importance of this ship. Well, let me just do this. Let me walk through this. Explain the importance of this ship and its owner in the Legends universe. The owner of this ship is Dash Rendar. He's the owner of a YT-2400 freighter. And he's in the Legends world. He's this rugged, swashbuckling smuggler. A lot of people kind of parallel him to Han Solo.
The ship looks similar to,
and it's a very similar ship. It was patterned after it, is what they were doing. But he becomes an ally of the Rebel Alliance. He joins Luke and Leia on a mission to free Han Solo from Jabba Hutt's palace. So we're tying into stories that we're getting in the Book of Bounty Hunter, the War of the Bounty Hunters. Right. His chief enemy in the Shadows of the Empire game is Prince Xizor, who is plotting to kill and replace Darth Vader as the Emperor's right hand. And then there's a whole lot more to the story that we don't have time to get into. But what you also need to know is that he ends up flying as one of the pilots in Rogue Squadron. With it. What are your thoughts on Legends, Dash Rendar, and Outrider and Prince Xizor now that you've heard this?
With all of that combined, it would make sense to bring in this character. And to bring in Xizor as a villain for this character. I feel like if you make the focus on bringing in this Dash Rendar character, then Xizor makes more sense.
Yeah.
I would like to see this character in the story. It would be an easy way to have a Han Solo-esque character in this time period without it being Han Solo. Because, while we all agree that Alden Ehrenreich did phenomenal as Han, not everybody's a fan of it. So maybe having some sort of alternate works. But even the character itself sounds interesting. And with Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron coming out, they can bring this character in, and that could be the main character or something to that effect. But yeah, I like the idea overall.
But he's now canon. Dash Rendar is canon.
Yeah, Dash Rendar has already been canonized in Jason Fry's solo companion book, Solo Star Wars Story Tales from Vandor. According to the journal, during his travels, Dash encountered Chewbacca and Han Solo. He claimed to be better than Solo. Rendar later claimed that it was Chewbacca who was the real brains behind their operation. Rendar also marked a map of the Kessel Run that was included in the journal. He piloted a YT-2400 light freighter and worked for the Alliance to restore the Republic.
So he's got history here.
I didn't know that.
Canon.
Okay.
With this. So I feel like we're getting him back into this. I think that we're getting the Outrider, which means we're getting Dash Rendar. If you're bringing them into the book of Boba Fett, then you can't have Dash Rendar without Prince Xizor. It doesn't make sense with that. So now, after all of the backstory and all the legend stuff, what are your thoughts? Is Prince Xizor coming into the I'm going to associate the Mandoverse here. You've got the Ahsoka series, you've got Mandalorian, you've got Book of Boba Fett, all of that together. I think you could have potentially had Rangers of the New Republic as part of this, and he could have been one of the Rangers, the main characters in that. All of this together, do you think that's what's going on, that Prince Xizor is coming? Yeah,
I think that's a good overarching villain that they can use. It's this character would already have an established force through the Black Sun, so it's an overarching threat that's all throughout the galaxy, but it's not like something as big as the Empire. And it would be a good villain for this universe without it being the Empire.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Sam said, it would be a great overarching villain since he rivals the influence of Palpatine and Vader. I feel like he would be a great new villain for this era, for the Disney Plus shows that are taking place during this time. I feel like it would especially work for Ahsoka. I think it would work great for Mandalorian season 3 since we have no idea what's going to happen in that season. And I feel like he might be wanting to claim Mandalore for his own, so that could be a part of it too.
Yeah, I'm not worried about him going to Mandalore, but I do think that in this timeline, in the canon timeline, we have maybe Prince Xizor going up against Thrawn in order to have control of the Empire and the First Order with this.
I don't know.
It definitely feels like a lot of these storylines, these characters from Shadows of the Empire are finding their way into the Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, like we mentioned. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see if these theories and speculation hold up, or if, our headcanon once again leads us to the dark side. So, all right. I guess that's it for that. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Anything else?
Yeah, the Marvel's logo was revealed by Brie Larson, actually.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. It's got like a mix between Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and Monica Rambeau's character, Spectrum. So it's kind
of... Their logos or
yeah, all of them like mixed together. It's kind of a cool look.
Yeah. Makes sense. All right.
And Henry Cavill says he still has his Superman suit and is ready to put it on if asked.
Does he actually have the suit?
Yeah, he has it in his closet.
That's awesome.
He actually has the suit.
Well, then he wore it to like his nephew's school or something one time. Like
that's in
Shazam.
That's awesome.
Story with it. The Acolyte has found its star in Amandla Stenberg. She was in some of the Hunger Games movies and stuff like that.
I might recognize her.
I think you would. That's going to pretty much do it. Cool stuff. Friday release this week is Dion Wilson, and he's going to be talking about independent comic book publishing and Web 3.0 and how it's leveling the playing field. Thank you, Cufflinks.com, not just for being amazing sponsors, but also for the gifts. We are excited to have some Spider-Man stuff with it. And thank you for listening to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast.
If you had a good time listening, it'd be awesome if you could share this with your friends.
And remember, the show is only a small part of the Tatooine Sons world, so if you like us that much and you want to get even more, follow us on Facebook and join our Facebook discussion group, and follow us on Twitter to get in on all of the actions. Keep up to date with everything we've got going on at TatooineSons.com.
That's right. Don't forget to follow the show on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss any episode coming out. Remember that if you drop us a review at on Apple or any of them, podchaser.com/TatooineSons, you give us a review. We're going to make a donation in your honor to one child to help a child living in extreme poverty. How easy would that be to do at the end of this year as something, kind of like a giving thing that you don't have to do anything but give some kind words and we'll make a donation in your honor. Please do that. Again, thanks for listening. Anything else you guys want to say?
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.
Joy, please.
Yep, yep.